Welcome to the Freud's Angels weekly reading, bringing the collective guidance and understanding for this week's energy.
Remember, never give your power up to a reader or a reading. You always have the power of autonomy.
Hi, angels. Welcome to your weekly reading. This is for November 3rd through the 9th, or whenever you decide to listen to it. It's the right time. So I just got an email from my favorite astrologer, and it said, "Welcome to Truth Serum season. Mercury has entered Sagittarius, which is where it will go in retrograde in a week or two. And so hold on to your hats, friends. Be you." And I think part of it is, well, Mercury is not, it's not exalted in Sagittarius at all. It is not the sign for it to be in. So the crunchiness, the upset that has happened in the last day or so, all of it makes sense now.
Yes.
It all makes sense now. Not to mention like all of the fact that we just went through a Scorpio new moon and all the things that were in Scorpio season, which you'll know I talk about this every Scorpio season, that it's a hard season for me for some reason. And I take it with, it's just bringing me new knowledge, but sometimes it's hard to wade through.
Yeah.
The water's deep.
New knowledge with my eyes pinned open.
So, yeah. But, and I think, Vanessa, it makes sense, a little more sense maybe sometimes why, your inspiration is waning a little bit because of the fact that we're entering into a retrograde, because of the fact this is not the time to make forward motion. It's more the time to reassess, like we were talking about what it is we want and kind of where we're at with our work, our goals, our life, or whatever. It's a good time to do that reassessment, especially giving us food for thought coming into the end of the year and going into the next year. It's these last 3 months, which is November, December, not January, because January's, I don't feel, is a new year. It's not new until February, March. But it's just, I think it gives us a time to do a lot of reflection and understanding and kind of get into that preparatory mode of what seeds have I planted? What have grown? What do I need to dig up because they aren't the ones I wanted? And what are the new ones I want to plant? Because that's kind of, I feel the energy is how they work. So, yeah.
I just wish it wasn't so like, I'm going to do everything and then I'm going to do nothing, because I'm like, this is not helpful. I want to like hold on to one thing and I don't even know what to plant. I have no seeds. All the seeds blew away in the wind. No seeds. All the seeds I was holding, gone. I don't want to do any of them. I'm like, oh no. Guess we're going to have nothing in the spring.
Maybe they'll come in December. Maybe St. Nicholas will bring you some new seeds.
Yeah. Or I'll travel somewhere and I'll just pick up some heirlooms in another place.
Exactly. Maybe there's some seeds in a different place that are calling you.
Yeah. Yes, for sure.
Yeah. So what are the mermaids telling us today, my friend?
Well, it's very fitting because the mermaids want to talk to us about hope. And I think we've seen her before. She's she's our hope card. What is when you look at her visually, she's sitting on a rock, and she's got her arms kind of crossed across her chest. She looks a little concerned. It's kind of a worry energy, right? Like that you can feel off of her. But there's a beautiful rainbow ray of sunshine behind the clouds behind her. And I think, like, obviously that's there for a reason, is kind of, sometimes we have to look for hope. Sometimes we have to know it's there behind us. Like whatever the thing is that we would hope for, we have to know that it might not be in our vision field. As I'm talking, I'm hearing myself talking. Because worry, everybody knows I say this, anxiety comes from, a lack of trust, like we have fear because we don't trust in something happening the way that would be advantageous for us in whatever way. And that the cousin to that being excitement has an anticipation just the same as anxiety does, but the anticipation is something great. And so then our It's because we trust in the outcome being something that's good for us. So we will follow that, with joy and excitement. And the duality of this card really is kind of that, where if she would just turn around, right? Like you look at her and you're like, oh my God, you're missing it, right? Just turn around. And it's a little far away from her on this card. But if she could just turn around, she'll at the very least see something beautiful, right? Like at the very least see something that is different from her viewpoint in front of her that's making her feel worried. So when we think about the word hope, I think we get to, like everything, dissect how we feel about the word, because words are spells that we cast on ourselves, and sometimes hope means something different to each person. Sometimes hope is attached to an outcome for people where they're like, well, I have no hope. And it's because they can't see the outcome being what they want it to be. And so they have lack of hope whatsoever. But that this card, I feel like, is calling for us to, redefine our idea of hope and kind of align it a little bit more with faith, a little bit more with, I hope that I will turn around and look at the freaking rainbow. You know what I mean? Like that there are things I'm not seeing. And so that can provide hope for me, that there is something beyond the spectrum of my knowledge point right now that could change everything, is to me like a hopeful energy. It is to me like a hopeful mindset of saying like, okay, what's going on right now is not it. This is not what I want. And so for anybody who's in this position, I think many of us are, given our current state of the world and lots of other things in it, it's hard to have hope, but we can find pockets of hope that can grow if we allow that to be where we're looking. If we turn around and look at the rainbow rays of sunshine and follow those instead of always looking at the things that are in front of us that are not providing hope, because they're there. They're definitely there. When we talk about the state of the world and everybody was, all the devastation and all this whatever, well, we're over here in Myrtle Beach watching how beautiful the communities surrounding the Western North Carolina community and Eastern Tennessee community, constant convoys of people going out to help, knowing that this is going to take years to do, but people committing to doing it. I mean, that to me trumps whatever else I've been seeing in the world, as being like, man, there's goodness. There is goodness. So whenever I'm in that state of like everything's falling apart and oh no, and the whole world and this and that, like there are still people here and there is still hope to be had, because if we can tap more into that energy of love, look what happens. Look what happens when people stop being distracted by the world and get into the energy of love. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So some days I have to hold on to that. Some days that's my hope of being like, well, let's do that without disaster. Let's try to do that without disaster next time.
Yes, for sure. I think it's a very appropriate card for this week ahead. So sit in hope. Just know that no matter what happens, we have each other, we have resources, we have the ability to manage through it. Yes, it may be a little bit of a stressful moment, absolutely. But giving ourselves the understanding and the faith within ourselves that we can handle and will manage and work through it, not only through by ourselves, but through our communities, through the places where we are supported and loved, and mutually be supported. You can help support others and you can be supported at the same time. Fun fact is, this Wednesday, ironically, it's the day after, we are holding our live event. And so come get support there. So but hope is important. I think when we allow fear to tell us that it's this world-ending moment, it causes us to take action or do things of that energy that is not maybe in alignment with what is best for us. And the more that, and it's not about spiritually bypassing, I think it's more about love can happen even in stressful times. It's not about, we're just going to love, and no, but love connects us to what supports us in the times we are scared, frustrated, fearful, upset, in trauma, whatever tragedy or whatever anger, frustration, There's love is still accessible in those places. It's just being able to find it within. And not to always talk about the hollow bone, but I live in it a lot. So that's why I love that so much. That's why I love the hollow bone journey so much, is because it's teaching us how to access a part of us that is connected to that love in moments of high stress, in moments of like when we're managing our 3D lives. It's the tool that connects us and brings us back into our bodies and back into ourselves, to connect to something that is deeply within us, that is one of the biggest and most effective tools that we have. And it isn't about, overlooking the stress or overlooking the event. It's about connecting to that deepest part of us that says, yes, this is scary. Yes, this is definitely valid to feel this way, but there is something within us that can truly connect to something that will help us through that time. And if you take the idea and you want to put it in like religion terms, it's very connected to faith, right? It's like having faith, but it's not about faith in God, and that's fine. I'm not saying it's not, but when we can connect in the hollow bone, it's a faith in our connection and our part in our own divinity that has a connection to something that is, like you said, that isn't, we don't always see. We don't always see the support and the love and the connection. But when we're entering in that space, that vibration helps us see where it is in our 3D and able to connect to that support. So I love that hope card.
I do too.
Very much.
No, every time I do look at it, I'm like, turn around, you're missing it. But I mean, again, like I look at it and I'm like, turn around, Vanessa, you're missing it. I mean, like, let yourself turn around.
Yep.
So what do we got over there? What are we surrendering this week?
Well, this is not going to be something that is going to help your frustration and not wanting to do anything. So we're going to surrender to rest and sleep.
You're right. You know me well.
So it says to prevent burnout, slow down, honor your need for quiet time and peaceful sleep to rejuvenate your mind and body and spirit. It's funny, I resist rest sometimes, but it's the thing that I want more of. It's like, I'm like, no, I got to keep doing things and I got to keep doing things. But then when I rest, like all the safety mechanism turn on and like, you got to keep doing things. But then I'm like, oh, I just want to lay in my bed. I just want to have a nap. Oh, I just want to lay on my couch and like chill out and rest. And, and when I convince myself to rest, I rest for 20 minutes and then I get up and go do something. And then I'm like, no, okay, we'll go back and rest. We'll rest for another 20 minutes and go do something. It's like, girl, this is not resting. This is just pausing.
Yeah. Right. This is sitting down to think of something else to do.
Yeah. This is preparing you for the next thing you want to do. It's not about resting.
Yeah. This is like when you plug your phone into the charger for 10 minutes just to get a little extra juice.
Exactly. It's just running on nothing.
Yeah. Right. I'm at 15% now. I'm ready to go.
This card is really fitting personally this week because of last week. And many of you know that I am working with a trauma therapist, and one of the parts, and in parts work, one of the parts that has come up that I worked with this week is, I call it the planner part. And this is the part that has taken all of the pain and the stress of many, many years of my life and created this pressure, intense pressure I put on myself to do things. And it comes from a lot of different places, like being married, my father, all the places. And it's the reason that I manifested this chronic illness. And in working with that part and realizing it was the cause of my burnout all the time, and healing that part of myself and working to heal it. Because, there's always layers, and there's always 10 years down the road, I may get triggered and it comes up. But in working with it and healing it, it's like helping take that pressure off. And so when we think about our relationship with rest and sleep, think about the narratives that show up, the belief systems, the old tapes that people have created. Like, when I was at my worst place coming home from Canada, my dad would say to me, oh, you guys are just lazy. You don't work hard enough. And that was the constant rhetoric for many, many months. And you need to get another job and earn more money. And that, I took that belief system and I like stapled it inside my
Yeah.
brain. And that's the pressure that I have felt for like, I don't know what, we're going on 20 years now. And that's what's caused me to burn out. I work too much. I'm always doing overtime, 20, 40 hours a week of overtime. Like I'm always doing, and in spending time with that part and understanding, like there's a burden, right? Because of that belief system that I'm lazy and that I'm not working hard enough. Because of that, it's trying, if it gets me to work harder, then it prevents me from feeling from that being true.
Yeah.
And so there's a protective thing. And so working on that, and that's why this is really appropriate, because there's a soul tiredness when you spend your life trying to make yourself do things that are just out beyond a humanly possible thing. And the more I think we connect with our relationship with rest and sleep, the more we have an understanding of either where it came from, why the belief system is there, or maybe it shows us where other places are triggered, and we can support those places that cause us to feel like we can't sleep or rest. And so, yeah, rest is important because we in the 3D move at such a rate, and our energy moves so much faster, and our body doesn't have time to catch up. So if you do intense healing work, therapy, or anything, your mind and your energy shifts. But our body is so dense, it doesn't catch up quick. And so it needs the rest to integrate. It needs rest to take all of you've learned, all of you've healed, all of what you've discovered, and bring it into your physical form, and creating that true essential healing. And when we can do that, it's like our triggers, the things that make us push ourselves beyond rest, begin to become a little bit smaller over time. They have less control over us. So
Yeah.
I don't pretend to know the answer for everybody, because everybody's connection and relationship is different, but it's important to understand it, because especially women, if you're in the perimenopause or menopausal moments of your life, which is where I'm at right now. And rest is vital, because your body doesn't have all those good hormones to keep you moving, and your adrenals get fatigued faster. So it's about understanding it and understanding yourself, but wanting to, not because you're forced to rest, which is what my body made me do, but because you made that choice because you feel you deserve it, and it's okay.
Or you understand it, right? Like, and that's what we're like, because like you'd said, it's different for everybody, and that's where the personal assessment has to come in, to be like, what is my relationship with rest? Not just the relationship with rest that I've been taught or that other people talk about, right? Because when I think of rest these days, there's a huge mental component to it that I had to discover, where I was like, I could be sitting my ass down resting, but am I resting? Right. And I have this conversation with clients all the time where I'm like, okay, so you have a very anxious life, and then you sit down, and I'm sorry when I say this out loud, everybody, but you sit down and then you watch murders all night. Your brain is not taking a rest whatsoever. It is continuing to stay in a level of fight or flight, and now is giving it new ideas of how to be in fight or flight. That's not the same mental rest that you think it is. Your body's resting, but your mind is not resting, and that is part of burnout. And people are like, no, you can't take it away from me. I'm like, that's fine. The same way that when people are super anxious and they're drinking a pot of coffee, I'm like, I won't take your coffee away, but now you need to know that you're making a decision that physiologically some of your anxiety could be coming from caffeine, and you're deciding not to try to see, and that's okay. But you now are calling it an intentional choice, and we're just going to do that, and we're going to see what happens. And 9 times out of 10, people are like, fine, I will try it. I will see what happens. I will try to balance it better. And they feel better because they learn to balance it better. They learn how to be different in their intention. It doesn't take it completely away. It just makes it like, what do I need right now? Do I really need to be in another, like, watching people fucking get chased, or Do I need to, laugh or watch a romantic comedy or watch a comedy stand up, or read a book or listen to music? What do I need instead that will actually make my body shift into something that is less of a nervous system response? Because we are nervous system response hungry these days all the time, and we wonder why we're burned out. That's why we're burned out. But when you said rest before, I was like, obviously my body has been doing some weird things that has been making me rest. I get very tired when like the stuff with my kidney acts up a little bit. But I've noticed recently that I don't like resting too much, just because I'm so, like, this happened to me yesterday. I was like, and I say this all the time. There's not enough time in my life, and I already know this. I'm 46. There's not enough time in my life for me to do all the things I want to do. I already know it because I want to do everything. I want to experience everything at least one time, it feels like. So I'm running on that more times than not, and it's a good feeling, and it's energizing most of the time. So when I think of rest, I'm having to tell myself, like, the rest is where you get the best ideas, right? And it's like a trick that I have to give myself, of being
Yeah.
like, yeah, but you, like, if you keep going and you keep your perpetual motion going, you'll be fine, because you do, like, I'm very good at taking care of myself these days. Most of the time I sleep well, I don't feel like there's that damage there. But I'm also like, know that your body is 46 years old, and that sometimes sitting down is good. But there has to be a trick. There has to be a trick that goes to it, because if it's a random Saturday and I'm sitting around, I feel really bad, mostly because I'm working all week and my daughter is figuring out what to do or doing her schoolwork or whatever during the week. So I'm always in the thought process of, we got to get out. We got to get out. We got to get out. Like, we can't just sit in the house all day. We can't just sit in the house all day, right? Like it's like time is passing us by and we're missing all the things, and we're not getting to see the sunshine, and we're not, it's this big like idea of FOMO in like a positive way. I mean, it's not bad to go out and go for walks on the beach and go for walks in the woods and stuff. But I realize that is my anti rest, versus, when you were talking, and it's kind of like work, being a workaholic. I'm like a litaholic. Like I, like I just want to go do all the things, and rest gets in the way of it. And I do have a hard time seeing the value in it, because when I'm resting, I don't feel like I need the rest. When I'm resting, I'm kind of like, I'm fine though. I don't feel messed up, and like I sleep, you know what I mean? So I feel like that's when we're talking about this, we're getting like a good contrast of there is such a spectrum of how this works for people, that you have to sit down really and think about what that means. So rest for me has been at nighttime. I've been allowing myself to just kind of watch whatever or listen to music or do whatever, you know what I mean? And that is like a wind down, is rest for me. And that has been working very well for me, not to be mentally burned out. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now. And the rest of the time, I'm fine with the fact that I'm not resting during the day. I don't want to rest during the day.
Yeah.
That's the time to do the stuff,
Yeah.
right? But it's that balance of figuring that out and being like, this is how I'm going to burn out, and this is how I'm not going to burn out. So yeah, it's a whole personal conversation for everybody to have with themselves.
Yeah. And also what does rest look like to you? Do you think that resting means you spend all day on the couch? And for some, that may be it. Sometimes I need that, because sometimes, I have more physical complications than some people, so that's important to me. But for some, that resting is, taking time for yourself, in the evenings, like doing something that is soothing, that takes you off of the mental treadmill, and in whatever that looks like. And absolutely right, there's balance, because yes, there are days I know when I'm in that space of I'm just resting because I am like avoiding things, and it's not a healthy rest. It's a rest of avoidance that is going to harm me later because I'm going to have to work twice as hard. And there's also rest that is like not enough. Like you're like, there are some nights when I'm working really late till 7, 8 o'clock at night. And then I expect myself to go lay down at 9 o'clock and try to go to sleep. And I'm like, that is not going to happen. And
Yeah.
so it's like, okay. and
Yeah.
and so there's this idea of push and pull and understanding and know that, see, balance is such a buzzword lately. Everybody's talking about being in balance, and there is never ever balance. You're always going to be heavy on one side or the other. It's about learning your signals, your cues of when you're out of balance and saying, "Oh, okay, you know what? I need to purposefully put in more rest time this week because I feel like I'm out of balance in that way." Or if you're like, I am on this massive inspirational kick and I'm doing it and I'm doing what I love to do, I know that at the end of this, I'm going to need some extra rest. It's about understanding that ebb and flow and knowing when you need a little more, maybe when you don't need as much, and giving yourself permission to take it. Because I think that's the biggest thing, is that we have that hustle culture, and when we're in inspiration and we're in our creative juices and we're doing it, we're like, yeah, I want this. But when we're kind of at the end or complete or at a point where we can, it's important for us to even schedule rest into our time of just giving our thoughts and our emotions. And yeah, such a personal journey. You're absolutely right, Vanessa. So, my friends, I hope that you have a good week. Understand, hold on to hope for as long as you can this week. Come join us on Wednesday. What time is it supposed to be on, Vanessa? Is it like, it's 8:30? We're at 8:30. I'm like, I know. It's like, wait a minute, what? It's in my calendar.
You're on the
It'll tell
East Coast
me
now, and I should know this. It's the same time.
It's like, it's in my calendar. I'll figure it out. You know,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
like
the notification will pop up earlier in the day.
So yes, Wednesday at 8:30, we're going to do some readings. They are donation based. A link will be in the show notes. It'll also be in the post that we post probably tomorrow or Tuesday, with the link to donate to secure your spot, because the people that donate get priority. And then if we have time at the end, maybe, but chances are not, because if people are donating, then you have secured your spot and are having a reading when you show up. And so, yeah, so please join us. We would absolutely love you to be there, even just holding space. That would be a lot of fun. It's going to be on our Freud's Angels Facebook page, where it always is. If you're new here, those of you who've been here, you know that. So much love to all of you. Hold on to your hats. Have patience with yourself, because it's going to be a weird Mercury season in the next few weeks. But know that this is all happening to benefit us in some way. So love you guys, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, love you. Thanks for listening.
We hope we gave you something to support your journey.
Check out our Facebook or Instagram page to connect with us.
Have a great week.